restoring men and history. Casablanca, one of the greatest films of all time, if not the greatest. 80th anniversary. So we get to talk about one of the greatest films for men to watch and women today. What makes it so magnificent? Why was it so great? Why does it have this lasting appeal? It won 3 Oscars when Oscars still meant something. Best Picture, Best Director, and Curtiz is incredible. He's an incredible director with so many films. Best Writing. So the 3 big ones, right? Many people believe it's still the greatest film of all time, including probably myself. It's up there at the top for me. Had the opportunity to see it on the big screen, and it was just so magnificent. What does it start with? What makes it so great? Well, it starts off with one of the greatest film stars of all, Humphrey Bogart, and he's still listed at the greatest star of all time according to the AFI for male stars. And what are some of the things that make Humphrey Bogart appealing to men and women and you? Well, he has those manly virtues, right? And he has presence and toughness. He has honor and he's manly. And he starts out in this film in that magnificent white dinner jacket. That's his introduction. Now, if you want to watch a man on screen, watch Bogart. Watch him in The Big Sleep, The Maltese Falcon, Key Largo with Bacall. Bacall and Bogart are phenomenal. Okay? Sabrina. So he brings manliness to every film that he's in. In this film, he plays Rick Blaine. And Rick is the man that men want to be and women want to be with. And we'll tell you why. Now, next you have one of the greatest actresses of all time, Ingrid Bergman. I think she was picked 4th all time according to AFI as one of the greatest screen legends for women. So you've got 2 of the greatest screen legends of all time still today. And balancing his toughness, she brings a delicateness, a femininity, a true femininity to the role, softness. And she's just a magnificent actress. She can do everything through her eyes. She's just phenomenal. And they complement each other, right? Because men and women are different. He's manly, she's feminine. So that creates what? Attraction. Attraction on screen, attraction in real life. They bring the attraction and chemistry to you. They have it on screen, you see it. The way they look at each other, the way she looks at him with her eyes. You can tell she's in love with him every step. So you've got them and you put them in this big love story in a war setting film. So you've got high stakes, risk, life and death situation with this romantic and incredible, maybe the greatest love story of all time. Now, if you believe in building better, stronger men, please subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate it. Great scenes, memorable screen lines. They're still repeated. You hear these lines all the time in real life. We'll go through for you, maybe. That song that you will never forget. Look at the opening. Let's take a look at the opening at the front of the film. And what does it set up? It sets up freedom versus tyranny in the first openings. And it says this. We'll read it. With the coming of the Second World War, many eyes in imprisoned Europe turned hopefully or desperately toward the freedom of the Americas. Lisbon became the great embarkation point, but not everybody could get to Lisbon directly. And so a tortuous roundabout refugee trail sprang up, Paris to Marseille, across the Mediterranean to Iran, then by train, or auto, or foot, across the rim of Africa to Casablanca in French Morocco. Here, the fortunate ones, through money or influence or luck, might obtain exit visas and scurry to Lisbon, and from Lisbon to the New World. But the others wait in Casablanca, and wait, and wait, and wait. Fantastic story, freedom versus tyranny, love story, human nature. At the beginning, it's all about the papers and freedom and getting to freedom. A man runs away at the beginning after he's asked for his papers. Now, what do they do to him? What happens to him? Now, in America, we have a constitution. The Bill of Rights protects your individual rights here in America. But in Casablanca, they have to show papers everywhere in the film. The man runs away and they shoot him. No questions asked, no trial, no jury. Tyranny with no individual rights. You don't want to live in that. And they didn't want to live in it either. Where do they want to go? They want to go to the land of the free and the home of the Americas. In the first scene at Rick's, he owns this great club. You see the discussion centered around how do we get out of Casablanca. And then you meet Rick in the white dinner jacket. He's in charge. He's direct. Everybody knows where they stand with Rick. He'll tell you right up front. He's that kind of man. And they know whether he likes you or not. He doesn't play games. And you also have this dynamic love triangle because Ilsa, played by the great Ingrid Bergman, and she's just phenomenal. The man she's committed to, Victor Laszlo, and loves through marriage. She thought he was dead. So when she met Bogart earlier in Paris, she thought her husband was dead. So she fell in love with Humphrey Bogart. That's the drama. That's the conflict. She's really in love with Humphrey Bogart. She's married to this man, whom she loves, but she's in love with Bogart. It's romantic love. And they have this chemistry, passion. It's all in their eyes. And it's that rare kind of romantic love, not a friendship love, not an acquaintanceship. They don't just do activities. They love each other. When they're dancing in Paris, you see it. It's that romantic kind of love that is rare, that you never see out in real life much. You see a lot of friends, you don't see a lot of a romantic love. So they have this love that's romantic. And right when she walks in, you can see it in her eyes. It's still there. You can see it in his. It's still there. Two are perfect for each other. Now, the story's set during World War II. So a few of the great scenes, when Ilsa sits at the piano for the first time and asks Sam, whom she knows from Paris, who came over with Rick, his friend, who works for him now. She asks him to play As Time Goes By, and this is the classic song. And she's such an extraordinary actress that you get it all through her eyes in this scene. That's how phenomenal she is. You get the love that she has, how much he means to her, how much she loves Rick. Amazing scene. You capture it all right through her eyes. Friendship. Sam, the piano player, works for Rick. He came over with him. He's a good friend. And after Ilsa surprises Rick and shows up at his club, he sits with him that night as he's waiting for Ilsa to come back because he's distraught. She's wrecked his life earlier, right? So he sees her again and he starts drinking at the bar, waiting for her to come back. He knows her and he knows she'll come back. Sam cares about his friend, so he sits there waiting with him. Remember, too, going back to Paris, when he got the note from Ilsa. Now, Ilsa and Rick Blaine were in love in Paris. She didn't show up at the train station where they were supposed to leave. She just sent him a note. Go on, because he had to get out. Sam was there, and you need a friend like Sam in your life, men. So if you're listening, men, you need a guy like Sam in your life, or a guy like Rick. You need a friend like Rick or Sam. Sam tells Ilsa how hard it was for Rick. And by the way, Sam's so loyal that he gets an offer for a different job at a higher paying place. And he said, I couldn't even spend the money. So he's not just focused on money. Sam's about friendship and fulfillment. He knows who he is and what he's about. So he doesn't need the extra money. You also have that flashback, the invasion of the France by the Nazis, with incredible footage. Rick's the man who gets things done. When the Germans are headed to Paris, he arranges to get Ilsa and him out on the train. Of course, there's the couple from Bulgaria. Where do they want to go? America. There's all these great scenes of how they did it and the looks and the actors and how phenomenal they are. When Ilsa pulls a gun on Rick, but then she breaks down and says, I still love you. There you have a conflicted woman. It's real, not a one-note character. And she can pull it off because she's so phenomenal. She's a real person. There's the band scene, one of the most moving scenes in all. And what happens is the French and the Nazis are both there in this club. The Nazis are playing their song and singing it. And then Victor, her husband, Victor Laszlo, asks the band to play the French song. Now, band doesn't do it when he asks. Rick's in charge. But Rick gives the nod. And of course, then there's this competition to see whom can sing loudest. And it's a great scene of patriotism, love of one's country. Yvonne's crying as she sings. And there's a story to that. And we'll come back to it later if we get to it. Remember, Rick is the guy who earlier said, I stick my neck out for nobody. And here he's already getting involved once Ilsa shows up. He's not staying on the sidelines as much. Ilsa's bringing him back to the world, even though he's made a success of himself. And he didn't quit and give up. But that's rare, that kind of love, right? It's a romantic story, maybe the greatest love story ever told. Then right after the song, the German commander tells Louis to close the place down. So Rick has taken a chance and a risk. His club's shut down. And then you get that other famous line. It's also funny. So from Louis, who says, I'm shocked, shock. And you've probably heard this line because everybody says, I'm shocked, shock. And that's from Casablanca. That gambling is going on here. Now, the funny part of the scene is, then the guy hands him his winnings and says, here's your winnings. And he gets this look from Bogart, right? So there's a great funny moment there. What about Rick Blaine? Who was Rick Blaine? Why do you want to be like Rick Blaine? As a man, if you can take on some of the virtues of Rick Blaine, you will do better in life, right? His life in Paris at the beginning, so he's in love with this woman, and they have that romantic love. And again, she doesn't show up at the train when they're supposed to escape. Instead, she sent a note. She's discovered that her husband's alive. She didn't know it. She thought he was dead. So he loses her. He's devastated. Here's the point. He's devastated. What does he do? Does he kill himself? Does he commit suicide? Does he give up? No. He goes on. Does he have resilience? Yes. He goes on. What kind of a leader is he? What is he? How does he handle his employees? Takes care of them, right? After they close him down, the guy says, he says to the guy, how long can we go on? He says, a couple of weeks. He goes, all right. In the meantime, everybody stays on salary. So he has loyalty to the people around him, his workers. And that's a great, admirable quality, right? He's a great boss, a great friend, and he has loyalty. And loyalty today is underrated. We talk about it a lot. You want loyal friends. You want to be loyal yourself as a man. That's important to men, to be loyal. So Rick and Sam are loyal to each other. They have that loyalty going on. And he has loyalty to his employees, a great manly virtue, right? Loyalty is a great manly virtue. So we've already showed you that he has resilience. He didn't quit and give up after he loses the love of his life. And he has loyalty. And right, he built a business after that during trying times. Had to start over. So he's takes initiative. That's another manly virtue. And he takes action. And he can deal with both sides, the French and the Germans. So that's difficult too, right? Largesse, there's a poor, destitute couple from Bulgaria in the film. And they want to leave, but they don't have the money to leave. So the wife has gone to see Rick after Louis says to go see him. And he does something noble. But here's another great part of Rick, if you can do this ever. It's a great thing. There at his gambling table, and he gives a sign to his man to make the couple win the money. That's romantic, right? It's a very romantic film. It also shows a little bit of a change in Rick Blaine because his staff is surprised. Even one guy comes up and gives him a hug. See, they love this man. They like this man. His employees love him, and he likes his employees. But he has prevented the woman from having to sleep with Louis, because if he didn't do it, she would have had to sleep with Louis to get out. And that's also romantic, right? She's romantic in a way because she's trying to help her and the husband get out. Sacrifice there too, right? She's willing to sacrifice that to get them out. There's a lot of sacrifice, loyalty, love here, romance in this story. It's enduring because it has all of these qualities. We like sacrifice. We like loyalty. We like those virtues, right? So he's a hero here, and she knows it. Yet he takes no credit. Fortitude. Obviously, he started a business. He had fortitude. Now, when she comes back in the story to Casablanca, she walks back in, and here's one of the most famous lines in movie history, right? It's the line of all the gin joints and all the towns and all the world. She walks into mine. What are the odds of that? And think about this romantic love, and it shows them dancing to, I think it's Perfidia, that great song. They're romantically dancing in Paris. And the love of your life that you think you've lost forever walks back into your joint. And you have a chance again. You have a chance to be with this romantic love. It's different than friendship love. It's different than acquaintanceship love. It's this beautiful romantic chemistry passion love. And so you have this second chance. Put yourself in the situation of this beautiful person on the inside and outside, soft, compliments you perfectly. Are you going to take it? Are you ever going to let her go again? You've missed her. She's wrecked your life not being with her. Now, all through the film, let's go back. It's about these papers. You got to get these papers. Everybody's got to get these papers to get out. You can't get out of Casablanca. And there's these special papers, and there's two of them that have the special, what they need to get out. And Rick Blaine has them. And he has the ability to get out two people. He can get out himself and Ilsa, or he can get out Victor, Laszlo, and Ilsa. Okay? Now, Ilsa's the love of his life. And if he's not let Victor leave, what's the price? He's going to go back to a concentration camp or they'll kill him. They say that. You can end up dead in Casablanca. So her husband needs to get out for sure, and he needs one of the papers. But there's no one to replace him, the film says. He is the guy that's needed to beat Nazi Germany, and no one can replace him, they say. So he is very important to the cause, and Rick Blaine knows that. Now, remember early in the film, Rick Blaine has said, I stick my neck out for nobody. He's withdrawn in that way. He's on his side at that time, so he says. So they've met again in secret, and she tells Rick she still loves him, and she wants him to make the decisions. Now, Rick is okay with the leadership now. He takes it. And he risks all of them getting to the airport, and we won't go through that, and helping them get out. At the end of the film, she asks him what she should do. In fact, we'll read it here. He can tell her to stay with him or help her husband and her get out. And here's the famous scene between Rick Blaine and Ilsa, and it's pretty much just an incredible scene. I'm going to read it here. Rick Blaine, last night we said a great many things. You said I was to do the thinking for both of us. Well, I've done a lot of it since then, and it all adds up to one thing. You're getting on that plane with Victor where you belong. Ilsa, but Richard, no. Now, you got to listen to me. You have any idea what you'd have to look forward to if you stayed here? 9 chances out of 10, we both wind up in a concentration camp. Isn't that right, Louis? Captain Louis Renault. I'm afraid Major Strasser would insist. Ilsa, you're saying this only to make me go. Rick Blaine, I'm saying it because it's true. Inside of us, we both know you belong with Victor. You're part of his work, the thing that keeps him going. If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life. But what about us? We'll always have Paris. We didn't have it before. We lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night. Ilsa, when I said I would never leave you, and you never will, but I've got a job to do. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be part of it, Ilsa. I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of 3 little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Here's looking at you, kid. Now, he does not say, what do you want to do? You make the decision. He's the man, he decides. He takes charge. He doesn't put it on her. He doesn't put the burden on her. He takes the responsibility and accountability. He's the leader. He's the man here. He does not abdicate the leadership role. He embraces it. And he comes through. In the end, you've got male and female in the roles. You see what a man does, how he handles life and death situations, and boys and men need examples, concrete examples in films and stories of this. And this is a great example. Decision, risk-taking, initiative. He does it all as a man. He comes through. Love story is the greatest love story, romantic. Sacrifice. Is he assertive? Yes. Does he have courage? Oh, yes. He's risked his life. He sacrificed a second chance with the love of his life for a higher cause, purpose, for the cause of freedom. And he risked his life for it, right? Because he also shoots the German officer in the film, so he could be arrested for that. Louis could have arrested him, but in the film, another famous line comes up and he says, round up the usual suspects. Now, this sacrifice is a big deal. Can we sacrifice? Would we? Would we have a purpose? Rick Blaine was willing to risk the love of his life. And by the way, he was also willing to do anything to get her out with her. But then he decides that Victor and the cause need her, because Victor can't go out on without her. He can go on. So he sacrifices second chance of the love of his life. And this is a huge deal. This is enormous. This is what makes the film even greater, with all the great wardrobe and everything else in the film, and Max Steiner and all the great memorable lines and the song and everything. He sacrifices romantic love, that highest kind. The love of his life, second chance, for a higher cause than himself. How many men can do that? Can we do it? But what kind of man do you want to be? Rick is good at taking care of things. He's decisive. He's good at being a man, right? Some men are good at being men. He runs the club all the way, makes all the decisions. You know he's in charge. He's the leadership. He's direct. He's truthful. He's honest with people. You know where you stand with Rick always. You can learn a lot from Rick as a man. Loyalty to his staff, they love him. Women love him, men love him. Because he got those virtues. And that's what you want to have in your life. That's what makes the man. He had fought before, the story tells you. He had fighting the fascists. That's why he had to get out of Paris, right? And now he's going to get back in the fight too. Not just this sacrifice. He tells her there in that line. So if you men have become disengaged or frustrated or believe there's no hope or believe things are not right, or you're depressed at this moment and you're not in the fight, in the standing, you can get back into a cause and stand for it. Standing for the cause peacefully. Rick kept going. He may have withdrawn in some ways, but he was still going on, tough, right? And now he's going to get back in the fight for freedom. And that was the decision he had to make. Give up the love of his life. You want happiness? Have a higher purpose. Have the virtue, sacrifice. Men need purpose. He did it. You can do it. You can get back involved. Men need concrete examples, and Rick is one. Men, I also need a friend like Rick or a friend like Sam. When Rick needed Sam to get back on that train, Sam got him on the train. He was distraught. Find romantic love like Ilsa, and a girl like Ilsa if you can. Be a hero, be a patriot. Oh, we were going to go back to that one part. Yes, back to the song. Many of the extras, including Yvonne, the actress who played, LeBeau, the actress LeBeau who played Yvonne, were refugees. who had fled the Nazi occupation. They knew tyranny. So their sadness in that great scene where they're singing the song, it was authentic. Realism, they lived it. They were not acting. The tears were real. They knew the difference between freedom and tyranny. And let's go back. And by the way, the character of Yvonne, the actress that played the character of Yvonne, came and escaped, fled. So that's why it was so moving, right? You had real people who had fled. Where'd they want to get? Where was the freedom? Remember, let's go back to the opening, read it again. With the coming of the Second World War, many eyes in imprisoned Europe turned hopefully or desperately toward the freedom of the what? The Americans. One more thing to remember, the couple from Bulgaria, they wanted to get to America too. And it's still where everyone wants to go, right? If we keep it. And it's up to the men to keep the freedom, right? You men. At the ending, Louis says to Rick, well, Rick, you're not only a sentimentalist, you've become a patriot. And we need patriots. Even Louis throws the bottle that says Vichy water away. He's in the fight now, too. In the last line, something we talk a lot about here on Restoring Men in History, was not in the script, it was dubbed in later. Rick, Blaine to Louis, says, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Building better, stronger men for better lives. Thank you. If you think it's important to build better, stronger men, we would appreciate it if you could subscribe.